Thank you guys for being willing to be a part of this. It is not easy for me, but I appreciate looking at friendly faces to do this. On someecards.com, a website that makes cards, there is a quote that should make us want to think and ponder. And it goes like this: I am so glad you told me what a good Christian you are, because judging by your actions, I never would have known. Hopefully, we've never been approached in that way, but for those of us who've lived longer, there may have been someone who's thought that about us. So our goal as Christians is for us to show people that we're Christians, not just try to tell them that we're Christians. Carey Nieuwhof is a pastor in Canada, and he has a blog that states, if you talk to a group of non-Christians for about 2 minutes, it only takes you that long for you to hear complaints about Christians. So he's listed them, 3 of them. The first one is the fact that Christians judge. And I have to admit, I regret that I'm as guilty as that as anybody else. Not long ago, we had a gentleman in our neighborhood that was parked with his RV for several days, then weeks, and I assumed that he was a freeloader. But God allowed us to develop a relationship with that man and find out that he wasn't freeloading. I was guilty of misjudging him. The second complaint about Christians is that Christians stink at relationships. And I think we allow ourselves as Christians to be so busy, even in church, that we miss out on the relationships that God has in store for us. And COVID has taught me that during this period of staying at home. It's allowed me to be more neighborly and to develop deeper relationships with my neighbors here where I live. And I've been blessed by that, and hopefully they have too. The third and final complaint is the one we hear most often, and that is that Christians are hypocrites. And I think all of us are guilty of, at some point, looking at someone and thinking, wow, what a hypocrite they are. It's so easy for us to do that. But I think it's just as easy for us to become hypocrites. And that's the problem. It is, I think, when we start raising kids that helps us to realize that our walk and our talk needs to match up. And how cheap it is for us to say one thing and do another. What child is going to grow up literally listening only to what we say and follow that and not our example? Carl Batters is a pastor in California, and he says that it's not only non-Christians that struggle with Christians, it's pastors as well. He claims that Christians are not attending, giving, or volunteering like they should be. And he says it's not a thing that we need to motivate them more. Unfortunately, he feels that we as Christians need to fall in love with Jesus again. Nancy DeMoss has an article where she's listed 40 evidences, and she agrees in the same way that Carl Batters does. 40 of those evidences, the majority of them have to do with the way we spend our time and where our priorities are. I think all of us are pretty familiar with the 10 Commandments and Matthew 6:33 and what it states in those items. The fact that if God is not a big part of everyday life, He's not our first love. And that's what He wants to be number one in our lives. There was an article, a journal, written by Bruce Little in 2018. And in that he states that as early as the 1940s, colleges in the West were teaching students about existentialism. And I tried my best to understand that term. I looked it up in the dictionary, I looked for synonyms, and I struggled. I just stopped looking when I saw that a synonym for existentialism can mean existence and non-existence. How can that be the same? It's just totally confusing. His point was basically the fact that these individuals were being raised to want to destroy and bury and kill the history and foundation of society as was known, and rebuild, but they had nothing to rebuild with. They had no plan in place. They were just about destruction. And unfortunately, it reminds me of a lot of what's going on in present day society. So for us as Christians, It's our choice. We can deny these attitudes exist, like we did years ago, or we can seek to show others that we are Christians and live lives that tell people by what we do and say that we want to make a difference. The famous nonviolent civil rights leader, Mahatma Gandhi, is well known for having said, "I love your Christ, it's your Christians I don't like." Your Christians are so unlike Christ. Hopefully, we do not make the choices that cause other people to think or act or feel that way. As Christians, our goal should be to live lives that inspire others to want to know the God that we love and adore. So our goal again is to show others by our choices and our lifestyles that we are Christians, so that what we do matches what we say. Thank you.